Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the All in Crypto podcast. I am your host, All in Crypto, and today I am absolutely delighted to be joined once again by Alex Wilke, the co-founder of Pendulum. So I guess we should probably start, Alex, by me asking you how you're doing.
Thanks. I'm fine. We have exciting times, and I'm very happy to be back. 1 year, a lot of stuff happened. So I think also in 2024, we're looking forward to many exciting and new things. Also, the Polkadot space moved a lot. So I think there is a lot to catch up with. Let's go.
Yeah, we should have definitely recorded the conversation we had off air about Polkadot's OpenGov for sure, but maybe we can throw that in at some point. But yeah, it was just under a year. I think the last interview that me and you did, where Pendulum was kind of, it just won a parachain slot auction, and you were still looking to deploy on mainnet. It's been a year since we did that, and I was really excited to have you back on. And I think that it's perhaps more apparent the use case that you guys are trying to fulfill today than it was a year ago. It's still very apparent, very relevant, very important, but things have really progressed, and I think it's really sort of helped the Pendulum cause, if you will. So maybe we could start with just a recap on Pendulum for those people who aren't aware, people that might be new to the project, or people that haven't perhaps seen our prior interview, which we'll leave a link to in the description. So if you could maybe give me an overview of Pendulum, that would be amazing.
Yes. We try to build a cross-border payment flow on blockchain. That's all what we wanted to do on chain, and we couldn't find any other chain there. We tried various ones. Stellar back then didn't have smart contracts, and we found that this piece of infrastructure is very, very important and missing. A smart contract compatible chain where we have lots of stable coins out there and an AMM and the basic, let's say, DeFi infrastructure to work with normal currencies like fiat currencies on blockchain stable coins. So what we're building is infrastructure for various use cases, mainly cross-border transfers, on and off ramp integrations, and we're building it on Polkadot as a parachain called Pendulum. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and I again, we said this off camera. We should have definitely recorded that off camera little section there. But the cross-border payments market is just so ancient, and it needs innovating. And I think what you guys are doing is exactly that. And you had mentioned that since we last spoke, you have actually been onboarding partners. Could we maybe speak a little bit about some of the progression you've seen in regards to interest to work with you guys to actually facilitate that? You've mentioned a Brazilian partner. Could we maybe explore that a little bit?
Yes. So the problem is still there. We're actually our own experiencing that, and we want to pay our staff globally around the world. We have a couple of team members that are sitting in Brazil or in Mexico or somewhere else, and we experience regularly problems using traditional rails there. Sometimes the corridor closes down, sometimes it gets more expensive, or we have to wait. And all over it is kind of pricey usually to send money around. So I think this didn't go away yet, although the traditional financial space are always arguing that they're always also improving on that journey and all around it, but we cannot see that just yet. If we look at sending money across let's say emerging markets or from Europe to Latam, for example, or around the world. So that's still there. What we did so far is building the infrastructure, reusing the mainnet, also having a smart contract deploy tool that, for example, let EVM developers deploy smart contracts on our substrate chain easily. So that's called Wasm Deploy. It was a tool that was necessary. Also, we identified that as a need when we released or when we developed our own Forex DEX for Pendulum, right? There's a team, the Nabla team, they're great guys. They're building their software as EVM. And to deploy on Pendulum, actually, we then identified, all right, let's build this tool so also other EVM developers can come in easily to Polkadot and the substrate systems. when we set up the whole, let's say, project, we Wix wanted to quick start with the Spacewalk bridge to have a lot of native stable coins already in place to go to market and target mainly SMEs, globally SMEs in emerging markets who need to receive or send money across the world. They have a lot of problems. What we also have as we talk to partners, you mentioned Brazil, that we want to directly issue stable coins in the Polkadot ecosystem or on Pendulum. And we could identify a transferable partner in Brazil who's already doing payments and also crypto on-ramping and off-ramping there with the BRZ token. And we found that they are already issuing on Moonbeam, for example, which made it easy to do first experiments with them already without any further development work, other than opening an XCM channel to Moonbeam, what we did, right? So that was one of the first things where we actually could use the benefit of the Polkadot ecosystem. So opening a trustless channel without bridging, let's say, in the traditional way, and getting that BRZ token alive was quite a nice experience also for our tech people. With this partner, we're targeting the Brazilian market. There will be more partners coming once we release the basic infrastructure for more market, mainly in the emerging, let's say, landscape. So not so much in Europe or US when we look at this now. But this is the next big thing that's coming for us, right? To go to market after we have finished, let's say, the setup with a Forex tech powered by Nabla Tech and our Spacewalk bridge. When we have the stable coins ready and the Forex techs, we have the main pieces in place to go for that cross-border user journey.
Yeah, and let's maybe I want to dive into the Forex AMM. Obviously, you mentioned Nabla Tech, who you're working with to facilitate that. I also want to dive into Spacewalk, which I think is really cool. And one thing that's amazing about Pendulum is you're not just solving this kind of real world issue that is Forex markets, global sort of movement of currencies or swapping from one currency to another for small to medium enterprises, individuals, and anybody else that wants to use it. You're actually really enhancing the entire crypto space by certainly the Polkadot ecosystem by bringing this really rich stablecoin ecosystem basket into the Polkadot space, and then through the Polkadot space, through things like Moonbeam, et cetera, and yourselves, allowing that kind of flow to the broader space as a whole. So Pendulum is an extremely interesting project, and you know, again, very thankful for you to come back on and kind of explain things. Could we maybe, just for people out there, sort of on a more rudimentary level, explain how they could use Pendulum once the core infrastructure is in place? You know, what's the kind of vision? Is it for anybody and everybody to use and your sort of Forex markets, or is it more for small to medium enterprises, or is it for everyone? Could we maybe talk a little bit about that and the process that you know, what that would entail essentially?
Yes. So yeah, that's a good point actually, because what we decided to be our first target audience or early adopters, we focused on businesses because we ourselves as a business and many others we talk to were experiencing problems when sending money, especially also businesses send usually more money around than private people, right? It's the difference if you send $100 or if you send $100,000. A difference in the traditional finance systems also, but also on blockchain, right? So if you try to swap $100,000, you will have more slippage on a DEX, right? You will have probably, if you do it through a centralized exchange, your order gets filled maybe slowly, or you have to like accept the worst price also for that order. Or if you go for a market order, you again have a big slippage there, right, for your currency rate. So that's what we're trying to fix. This is our target audience. So it's SMEs, small, medium businesses and enterprises, paying staff, paying suppliers, right? Or importing from another country and needing to pay them. Also, and that's an interesting case we were looking at recently because it halves actually the complexity of it. Is people who already receive, let's say, USDT or USDC, but want to off-ramp that money in their local banking system. So that's what we could also offer, having our stablecoins in place that are directly connected into the fiat system. So someone receives USDT and they can, with a very, very low slippage through our DEX, convert that to their local currency, BRZ or MXP or Canadian dollars or whatever. And then this will be off-ramped directly into the local banking systems, which is usually much cheaper that way and faster than if you go through a centralized exchange, let's say, and through some markets and then getting it in the banking system, right? So in general, it's for SMEs, but if you as a private person then want to send money or exchange currencies also through the DEX, through Nabla, right? You can, of course, also do that, right? And that's the beauty of DeFi. It's just permissionless. So, of course, you can also use it. It's open to use for everyone. And you will profit from those, from the liquidity first and also from the technology so that you only spend, let's say, 5 to 10 basis points. It doesn't matter like how much you exchange, or if you exchange lower amounts, even lower slippage, right? We're talking about basis points here. And that gives you, a big advantage compared to traditional finance swaps, right, where you usually pay 1% or more easily hidden in the exchange rates.
Yeah, so I mean, some people might not be familiar what basis points are. Basis points are a percentage of a percent, right? So exactly. in the traditional system, if you were to send $100, you'd pay 1 to 2%, a couple of hundred basis points. Whereas what you guys are facilitating is percents of percents, which exactly. is huge and amplified massively. If it's $100, it's still expensive to do it the traditional way. If it's $100,000 or 100 million, there's a massive, I think, benefit for the people that look to use what you're offering, and that's huge. And the fact you use blockchain to do it is amazing.
And especially in the Polkadot ecosystem, we now have, fortunately, USDC, USDT also in the ecosystem natively there. But for example, a Euro token is, let's say, widely required for projects who are having stuff in Europe or somewhere else. It could definitely solve some problems when you send money around, even for parachain projects or people working on Polkadot, right? So I had some talks already, and this is one thing. People would use these RAMs that we bring through Spacewalk or through, let's say, software that natively integrates these RAMs from these stablecoins also, so that users can easily on and off ramp through them. They would use those also, like for their own needs, right? And sometimes also for their users. So I cannot mention any names yet, but we're talking to some parachains, and we first want to, let's say, do one step after another, release the infrastructure, doing our own go-to-market, but also, of course, opening up to the early adopters in the Polkadot system.
Yeah, because not everyone is native to the US dollar currency. Not everyone lives in the US. I mean, the US is dollar is widely used around the world, typically in countries where their own currency isn't that great or has a large inflation to it. But there are people that need to use euros, pounds, for example, like where I am in day-to-day life. I think we haven't made that jump yet where we use stable coins in day-to-day life, but that is coming. And facilitating that, I think, is an absolutely massive use case. What kind of effect? I want to sort of move on to the infrastructure that's coming in just a second, obviously with the Forex AMM and of course Spacewalk, which is something I'm personally ecstatic about, and we'll get into all that. What kind of a benefit? I mean, I said this off camera to you. I think once you guys roll out what you're trying to do, Polkadot essentially will have the richest ecosystem when it comes to stable coins in the game. What kind of a benefit do you think you're perhaps bringing to Polkadot with what it is you're doing?
To Polkadot, I think, I mean, we're bringing these whole payment use cases that, for example, Stella was working on also for years, bringing that to the users and to also the protocols, to the products of them, so they can actually target also local markets if they want to, and have easy ramps for them into their product, right? So I think that's the major benefit, is that through, as I said, through those stable coins, you have like easy, let's say, on ramps in those countries where these stable coins are issued, and also off ramps. And I think at the end, if you want to go for real traction and real users that are sustainably also using a product that makes sense for them, you at one point also want to target people that are still outside of blockchain maybe, or are new to blockchain. And for them, you need to offer a nicer way to go into crypto than currently they have to go through centralized exchanges, placing market orders, having a big trading desk in front of them, but they just want to use actually a product, right? And this is still a big pain, I think, for the user. And we're solving that, of course, not only for our users, but potentially for all users or all protocols and products that want to target users that are potentially still outside crypto.
Yeah, because it's, you almost have gatekeepers in regards to how people get into crypto in the form of centralized exchanges. So that's a huge barrier you're breaking down. You're also a parachain, so you've got that if you choose to interconnectivity through XCM. And we know you'd mentioned bridges. Bridges have just been the bane, I think, of many of our lives in the crypto space. You know, so it's fascinating. And not only that, I think also for Polkadot, with you bringing in the kind of stable coins that you're offering, it's a real eclectic group of them. You know, it's the pound, it's the euro, it's the whatever it may be, the rand, you know, Brazilian real. This is not seen on many other ecosystems and chains. So I think there's benefits all round. And I think you guys will essentially make it and be some of the first to make it easy and seamless to actually just get into the crypto space, rather than having to go to the gatekeepers, pay the extortionate fees often, and, you know, lose money on slippage and things like that, which is a shame, really. So in the true ethos of the blockchain space, you know, you're really pioneering how we get into blockchain. So if we could maybe talk about some of the key infrastructure that you guys are building, if we could perhaps start with the Forex AMM that you're working with Nabla Tech. Now, where are we with that? Maybe we should sort of explain what that is, and then where we are with it, and what the kind of timeline is moving forwards.
Yes. So Nabla was developed last year. It is a DEX that is specialized on coins that are not highly volatile. So like stable coins are usually moving, not like, let's say, any small crypto project tokens. The main currencies, like you said, pounds, Brazilian real, or dollars, Canadian dollars, euro. They have a different character, different parameters, how their price changes. The major innovation from Nabla is that they rely on also on price oracles, so price feeds that we deliver on our chain to the DEX. And with that, the market making, they are saving, let's say that they need arbitrageurs for the price finding or something. So they also have the single-sided liquidity that you can provide. They come without impermanent loss, right? So they have some advantages because they are using price oracles. And I think that's the major change to a standard DEX that gives us an edge in terms of slippage and also swap fees. So the Nabla DEX will be 2x, let's say, have 2x lower slippage than a Uniswap V3 or a Curve or some other DEXs that are specialized on these stable pools, right? And I think, having this, let's say, this price discovery taken with priced oracles that are already out there, it's just a very sweet shortcut for bootstrapping that whole Forex ecosystem, and that's what we're doing with Nabla.
Yeah, and where are we at with Spacewalk? I mean, it's something that I'm personally really excited about. Let's maybe give an overview of Spacewalk. You know, you guys are partnered with Stellar to essentially facilitate that, and that's where you're getting a lot of your stable coins from. Am I correct in saying that? It's kind of a bridge from Stellar to Pendulum
Yes.
and then kind of injected into the, you know, from Pendulum to anywhere, basically. So maybe we could sort of outline what Spacewalk is and look at where you're at in regards to perhaps rolling that out.
Yes. So Spacewalk is very decentralized bridge, as you said, from Stellar to Polkadot, Pendulum, and it was a little tricky to do that. That's why we used the Inter-Bitcoin, the RBC technology for that. It was adapted for the Spacewalk bridge. So what we're doing, we are having a fully collateralized bridge. So there is a collateral being deployed on the Polkadot side for the assets that are then locked on the Stellar side. So in let's say in all times there is a collateral. It's secured, and this collateral is also provided not by, let's say, us with a multi-sig wallet or something, but it is provided by a community, by decentralized board operators, right? So to really decentralize that bridge and make it secure this way was a big, let's say, part of the complexity of building that bridge in order to bridge over then and open up the channels for the stable coins that are already there on Stellar. And yeah, with these stable coins, we're also getting the ramps actually in these countries, as I said, to have all of the benefits for Polkadots and Polkadot protocols and users, and also our Pendulum users and Nabla users there. So that's what we're building with Spacewalk. We are releasing piece by piece of the software. So there's just currently a referendum also going on of releasing the next parts of the software palette to the Pendulum runtime. Those will then be configured again, and then we're heading towards a public launch on Pendulum with that. We already launched it on Amplitude. Technically, it's running all well, so it could be successfully tested on our Canary network. And for Pendulum, we're now building that launch. Also, the vaults and the rewards will be built. So as a vault operator, you of course receive also some of the rewards. And this way, we are looking at Q1 for finishing that infrastructure release, and then we could look at our go-to-market that we actually want to do, why we built it.
Because that's the infrastructure that we've been kind of bringing up during this interview, you know, so that you guys are ready then to take on the world, you know, Spacewalk and of course the Nabla AMM. You know, once you have those, you've got kind of, I don't know if I could say the puzzle's kind of completed, but it's certainly, you can see the picture if that makes sense.
It's an it's our MVP ecosystem that we also defined for us. That is enough, right, for launching apps that are using that infrastructure, the stable coins, swapping them, the RAMs, right? So there's enough to play with, enough applications that can be built with that infrastructure. Of course, we can then start building on top of that, like more elaborate products also on that, adding more protocols, and we'll also target more builders then, bringing even more products and protocols to the Pendulum ecosystem. But first, we will just use that to execute on the cross-border transfer use cases for SMEs, and also for the ramping use cases that we have. So where we have only little of the complexity, but already like a lot of advantage compared to centralized systems. For example, I don't know if you do also swaps with a custodian, for example, many fintechs are doing that. Then you run this on centralized infrastructure, and our tests showed you paying 1.5% over there. So that's 150 basis points where we can actually deliver a better decentralized experience when you swap to your local currency or to USDT or USDC.
Yeah, and it's cheaper as well, of course, than the traditional systems, which I think is, you know, people often want, sometimes for people, decentralization is a massive thing for us, but sometimes people want a financial incentive to use something, and it's certainly there with what you guys are doing. And at what stage do you think you guys, when do you think it will be possible to use Pendulum to essentially on-ramp into the crypto space? At what point do you think that comes? And is that done via your app? Is that, maybe we could talk about that a little bit, because that for me is really exciting.
Yeah. So there is a working title, we call it Pendulum Pay right now, where we actually then build this as a lighthouse project to really show, okay, that's how easy that works. This is how you can do an easy ramp and then a swap and a cross-border transfer. We also, with our partner in Brazil, for example, we're working on releasing a bank-to-bank journey, actually. So with another partner, for example, in Europe, you could do an on-ramp in Brazil. That money is then put into a smart contract, will be sent to the partner in Europe, and they're directly off-ramped actually to the banking system. And this way, you would have very, very little interaction even with crypto as a user, right? So that would also fit, to users that actually don't want any exposure to crypto. And that's currently where the market is. So that's why we're looking at those use cases also a lot. So coming back to the question, Pendulum Pay, that's, let's say, the place where it would be available. The time, I would say, I said Q1 for infrastructure being ready. So I would say Q2 we want to have first pilot out for Pendulum Pay, the first prototypes being tested already at the end of the quarter, hopefully, and then we will iterate fast on that. So releasing fast is there our motto and our mantra. So that's why we would, put it down, focus on one market for that, and already test the prototype with that. I don't know if that would be public, but we will do this probably also publicly available, depending on where you live. Let's say you live in Brazil or Europe, then you could probably already use that, yes.
Very hard to put times on, because there's so much that has to sort of come together in order to sort of stick to a time. I mean, I think anybody that's been in the blockchain and crypto space for any length of time will know that, deadlines should, or rough estimates should be taken exactly as that, rough estimates. And there's a lot that actually goes into this that people don't really think about. I kind of want to ask you, because I think you had some really good points. You mentioned that you've got the Spacewalk referendum currently up right now, and people can take part in that by going over to OpenGov.
Yes.
Do you want to give that a shout out at all for people to have a look at, or what do you think?
Yes. So, you can go at Polka Assembly. That's the governance system of Polkadot and the Polkadot parachains. We're still running with the standard governance module there, and everyone who owns Pen tokens can take part, can influence the decisions about it. For the Spacewalk, I would suggest everyone yays this proposal, but you can do what you want there. So I would definitely shout out to everyone having a look at the referendum, looking at the GitHub, and vote. Yes, go out and vote, please.
Yeah, we'll leave a link to that in the description. I'll certainly be taking part and yaying that. And what do you think about OpenGov thus far? Because I asked you this off camera, and we kind of agree on lots of things. I think it's been, I'd sort of used the term Nirvana isn't for this world, and with every governance that I've taken part in, there's been something that people haven't quite been on board with. But I think you also, that it's actually been a success, and it's brought lots of attention, lots of noise. We've seen coalitions forming. We've seen, what's your thoughts on the whole thing?
Exactly. So I was already mentioned it on a talk, I think, summer last year, that Polkadot has like the most advanced governance system there in place, for a decentralized audience. And I always was thinking, how can this actually create a value or be a USP today, right? Because I know that's long-term, that's very strategic, that's super important to have, and it will play out when when you're an institution, for example, and you want to put billions of dollars on a decentralized infrastructure, how can you be sure that core developer that is currently running that chain will be around tomorrow, right? You need a system in place for that. And I think that's what this governance system provides. But as all governance systems, it failed having enough participation, of course, right? Having discussions around that. And this is what we were talking about earlier, is what kind of happened after I think also Parity promoted their further decentralization of their organization, right? So they have decentralized also their business units. They also apply for grants now. So all the treasury proposals and the governance got much more active, and there is much more business decisions also happening, I think, now on the governance. So I think that's very, very exciting and very, very useful and helpful. And yeah, we could see that even myself, I'm a lot more active, like reading, like looking at tweets, like looking at who is who also in the Polkadot community, right? Who's voting for what, who's promoting stuff, like what are the, that's so-called like the parties involved, right, in that governance system. And I think it's a very exciting, it's very new to have this decentralized governance in general. So I think we don't know how this works today, but I think Polkadot is really like piloting this, and you can see it. It's a lot of drama. It's a lot of, I don't know, hate, love, whatever you want to find there. So it's kind of the reflection of the real world, I would say. But and I think it will emerge into a system that's where I'm optimistic that will make it possible also to govern such a body in a decentralized manner. So as you said, I think we need coalitions there. If like 1,000 people vote just anonymously, that doesn't work. So you need those discussions, you need those coalitions, you need all this power games, power plays that happen usually in politics, right? And I find this super interesting, super exciting, and I think this will play out very well. It was interesting that this was kicked. I think the activity was going through the roof after there was the initiative of in a decentralized manner, launching a meme coin on Polkadot, right? I think that was one of the triggers that really got that system exploded. And I think at least that's a very positive trigger of getting governance active. I mean, I find this in general very, very positive. I don't know if it all succeeds, but I find this higher participation very, very positive. Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it, that you know, we've come to this point where we're kind of replicating the real world. Yes, the participation isn't where maybe we would like it to be, but eventually I think it will be. I think the more eyeballs on it, like I say, I've taken part in pretty much most governances that there are in regards to all the big layer ones and even some of the layer twos on Ethereum and stuff like that. The Polkadot OpenGov experience, if I can call it that, has been the most exciting, the most drama filled, the most interesting governance that I think there is. It's been crazy. I mean, it really has. I mean, you hear, and everyone's got an opinion, which is why the world's so beautiful. But I think it's been a success. You know, yes. I'm with you.
I think it's emerging actually from this. Let's say all projects start, like decentralized projects start, where core developers, or let's say the core teams, kind of is most trusted, and then their opinion, let's say, would always win in a decentralized governance vote, right? I think what we see in Polkadot, that we kind of emerged out of that stage into a more progressed stage, where you actually have very different positions and then fighting for the vote. And I think that's what is positive actually about it. Of course, it's a little bit new that you have all these conflicts now going on, but I think in general, that's actually very, very good sign, I would say.
Yeah, it's, you know, I live here in the UK. I went to a comedy show the other day, and they had said the last time we voted for an MP was on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here in the UK. And it was Matt Hancock who was obviously on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And it's kind of interesting how these systems almost are more democratic in many ways than the actual political systems that we have. It's just about that participation. You know, do we get to a stage where everybody that owns Polkadot is taking part? I don't think that's going to be a reality, but I think a large part of people should. And, you know, the more easy it gets and the more things that are built around it to make it easy to vote, It's going to be interesting. That's for sure.
That's for sure. Yes.
That's for sure. That's for sure. But Alex, moving on to this year, we've spoken about Spacewalk. We've spoke about the Forex AMM with Nabla Tech. And we've also spoken about the kind of on and off ramps. Is there anything else you want people to pay attention to? Because I'm going to be paying attention to Pendulum like a hawk for 2024, certainly with what we've just spoken about and seeing how it all progresses and how the broader effect of things is. Is there anything else you want people to kind of pay attention to or to watch out for?
So we might actually have talked about this already as an out. I'm just thinking like a year ago, I also had this intention, but I think I would always pay attention to this. I think we're on the bridge to a Web 2 kind of experience for Web 3 product. Brilliant. So that you have this, you have now Wallet Connect, for example. I love that, using that for DeFi, right? Because earlier you have to install some extensions that have all your rights on your browser, right? Your local browser. Now you have this separated also nicely. And I really, it works like if I do something on an application and I connect with Wallet Connect, it actually works like my bank account, right? Yep. We have the same, like two-factor experience, right? And this is something I really love, and we could, I think, hide these Web3 like onboarding that is kind of a hassle usually with that. So there were some actual UX experience upgrades in the last year, and I think we will still see that, and I think that where then hopefully at one point also my parents, my grandparents, whoever, like, can also use that technology, right? And I think that's something to watch out, because then when we go this stage, then we're talking about actual traction of crypto, I think, and not this piloting and speculation kind of activity that we have most currently still. I mean, there are some serious use cases already live now. There are some big players also now putting their bet on crypto, building products on crypto. So I think it's already unstoppable. But I think, once we really solve that UX journey, that will be something to watch out for, I think.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think you kind of almost need to Trojan horse in the Web 2 space. And I think also with crypto, some people try and reinvent the wheel. Sometimes the wheel does need reinventing. But sometimes you just need to optimize that wheel, and Web3 can do that. And it doesn't need to be like this whole, I mean, the wheel has been around it works, right? So, but it's the UI UX experience is, I think, one of the most important. And I think you're so right. We are still in this speculative space. One thing that really, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and he was talking about the .com boom. And he said, you saw all the big execs and the people that were high up on Wall Street all move towards .com companies. You see the exact same thing happening today with crypto. I do truly believe it is unstoppable. I really do. At this point. But Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. I think we should do this annually, or maybe even quarterly, or half quarter, or more regularly, because you guys are just doing so much. There's a lot for us to keep people up to date on, and we'd absolutely love to have you back. But thank you very much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you. And also, yes, let's catch up some more, and it's been a pleasure to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, we'll leave links to where you can find Alex, where you can find everything about Pendulum, also their January update that just got released, where they talk about integration with things like the Stellar Swap, Moonbeam, and also outline the sort of roadmap ahead and talk about the Pen token and everything like that. So yeah, absolute pleasure, Alex. I will see you very shortly.